This is the White Coat Investor Podcast, Milestones to Millionaire, celebrating stories of success along the journey to financial freedom.
This is Milestones to Millionaire podcast number 113. Paid off student loans and bought a car with cash. Right now, qualifying medical professionals can refinance their private student loans with an up to 1% rate discount. Still a resident? With SoFi Student Loan refinancing, you could pay just $100 a month during your residency. And as a SoFi member, you'll have access to a powerful set of tools, education, even financial planners to help you not only save money, but help you on the road to financial freedom. Check out their payment plans and interest rates at sofi.com/whitecoatinvestor. SoFi Student Loans are originated by SoFi Bank, N.A., member FDIC. Additional terms and conditions may apply. NMLS 696891. All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you are enjoying it. I enjoy making it. I've been looking forward to being with you again for the last couple of days while I was in the ER. And, sometimes it's easier to stay in my chair and work than it is to run around the ER all crazy taking care of people. I'm not going to lie. But I do enjoy doing this for you and hope that it's beneficial to you. Today, we have a great interview. We're going to do that first. And then I'm going to talk for a little bit. Those of you watching this on YouTube can see what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about a book that was put out by my friend Mike Piper. He's been a speaker twice at WCI cons. I cannot praise Mike enough for what he does. So we're going to talk about his latest book, More Than Enough, after this interview. But first, we got a double financial goal, financial milestone interview. We're going to talk with the doc who has done a couple of things. So let's get him on the show. Our guest today on the Milestones to Millionaire podcast is Navin. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You have hit 2 milestones. Tell us what they are. I
paid off all my student loans and I bought a car with cash.
All right. Which one are you most proud of?
I think the loans is probably I'm most proud of, since the amount was $411,000.
Wow, $411,000 in student loans. And how long did it take you to pay that off?
3.5 years after fellowship.
3.5 years. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a neurologist in Texas.
And over those 3.5 years, what was your average income?
So when I took my first job, I was about $240K starting salary, and then I'd done some locums work beforehand, and then COVID hit, and my group actually asked me to take somewhat of a pay cut. So I kind of negotiated doing some locums work in there to increase income, and then also negotiate early partnership. And so that was an expense, but also helped with increasing income as well. So you said total income, like for example, when I started in 2019, my average salary was $240, and then now as a partner combined with my wife, we made about $550 last year total.
That's really great. I bet you're working pretty hard to get that.
I am.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I need to thank you too. I canceled the first time we're going to record this with you, and for 2 reasons. One, I didn't think that our podcast producer Megan was going to be able to get to my house due to snow and ski traffic. But 2, I just wanted to go skiing. It was like 2.5 feet of snow that morning. So it was really an epic morning. So I should thank you for being so willing to reschedule this.
I totally get it. Growing up in the Midwest, I mean, I understand how much snow can impact a lot of things, but obviously you have to take advantage of it. I think you had mentioned in a couple previous episodes there were droughts going on, so I think it was good for good for everyone involved to have that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, you've done something pretty awesome. I mean, this is a huge student loan, right? That's twice the average of what MD students are coming out with on average, indebted MD students. So this is a big student loan. There's lots of people out there with student loans this size who are worried about it, who are like, this is going to hang over my head my whole career. And yet you took it in the corner and dropped an anvil on it, despite being in a specialty that a lot of people don't look at as a highly paid specialty. What advice do you have to somebody that wants to do what you've done?
It is overwhelming. It was definitely overwhelming, and especially while I was in fellowship, just seeing all the interest rates or just seeing all the amount I was paying interest, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. But I think I took a unique approach to, I guess, my career in general. After fellowship, I did locums work out in rural Kentucky, and I took advantage of just the higher rates that locums physicians earned, and also just for the extra experience. So I think I earned in 3 months, I earned about 100K. And I just took a lot of that to pay off student loans, pay off just other personal debt I had accumulated. And then when I joined my group in October of 19, just paid, taking about 6K a month towards the student loans. And then COVID happened, March 2020, and my interest rates went from, a 2% variable down to 0.6%. So I took advantage of the low interest payments and just kept shoveling everything towards principal. And then slowly but surely, the principal kept going down. And in November 22, while interest rates started rising again, I was like, all right, I have enough in savings. Let me just pay all this off, and then I'll just pay myself back over the next couple of months. And yeah, it was hard. I mean, it's just a lot of commitment. I mean, we delayed a lot of things. But at the end of the day, my wife is very supportive of, getting these loans taken care of, and we just wanted to be done with it.
When did you first refinance your loans?
So I first refinanced, I think it was about April of 2019, after I knew I wasn't going to do a PSLF job. So I refinanced with SoFi, took advantage of their $100 monthly payments, and lower interest rate went from like 7% from the government to, I think it was like 4% at the time. And I refinanced again in the summer to like 3%. And then right before my job, I got a 2% variable.
And then that went down as low as 0.6%.
I had that for about 2 years, and then it started going back up. I think by the time I paid it off, it was already back up to like 3 or 4%.
Yeah. How did you feel in March of 2020 when everybody that still had federal student loans had their payments put on pause and their interest rate changed to 0%?
There was a little bit of that. Oh man, I wish I had taken an academic job and still had loans, or still had, or had a PSLF qualifying job. But it bothered me maybe for a little bit, but at the end of the day, I knew I was in the right place career-wise, and I knew that I love the job that I have, and I knew this was going to be a temporary setback, but that didn't really bother me too much.
There's a lot of students out there, pre-meds, medical students that, they don't have any family help. Nobody's going to be paying for their undergrad, much less their medical school. And they know if they come out, it's going to be $300, $400, $500 plus $1,000. What advice do you have for them? Do you think it's still the right thing to do to go into medicine, even though it's going to, take years of training and a huge debt that's, you're not even guaranteed to match into a residency? What advice would you give to someone that their only option was to run up a debt like you had?
For someone, I didn't have family help either. My parents are first generation immigrants. And so, college was mostly what, we paid for with loans and or scholarships. And then med school going to the Midwest was very expensive. So, but, if I had to do it all over again, I would have done it the exact same way, or, I would have done it the same way. And for me, I chose neurology late in my career, or late in my med school career, but I'm super happy where I am. I mean, sure, like you said, traditionally neurologists don't make that much, but I've joined a group where we all do pretty well, and it's like you said, live like a resident for 2 to 5 years, have a plan, and as long as you do that, it's you can conquer it. It's required a little bit of discipline, but I mean, it's definitely doable.
I often tell people, and I'm not sure they all believe me, I often tell people that the range of intra-specialty incomes is more variable than the range of inter-specialty incomes. And you're a good demonstration of that. I mean, you're making well more than the average on salary surveys for a neurologist. Were you surprised that you could make that much money as a neurologist?
I was. I mean, when I was looking at jobs, I was looking at what would be the earning potential, because going into it, I knew I would work really hard, and I wanted to, just work really hard, serve the community, but at the same time, obviously, get compensated accordingly. And with an academic job I was looking at, it was an RVU based model, and that one, had a decent opportunity to make some money, but at the same time, looking at a private practice with buying in and just kind of controlling what I want to do. I definitely make more than, I guess, some of my friends that work in different jobs.
Now, you grew up in Chicago, and you're now practicing in Texas. This is kind of the classic example of geographic arbitrage. You've gone from a high cost of living place to a lower cost of living place. You went from a place with high taxes to low taxes, someplace with kind of a nasty medical legal climate to a very nice medical legal climate. Tell us about that decision and what effect you think it has had in your ability to pay off debt, build your net worth, et cetera.
I had grown up in Chicago for my entire life, and when I was looking at med school, when I was looking at residencies, I had initially gone into the process saying I want to stay here, but I wanted to go to a place where I would get good training and just get good experience, so I could be a good doctor. And like you said, having seen when I was looking for jobs, seeing the medical legal environment, the cost of living, taxes, all of those factored in. And I think the biggest thing for me really was my wife was from Texas and she didn't want to leave. So that decision was kind of made for me. But I think with that aside, I mean, for like you said, all the reasons that you mentioned, it's a good place to practice medicine and focus on practicing medicine, not having to worry about, do I have to order this many tests or, order extra tests I don't think are necessary, just to make sure that I cover all my bases.
Yeah. All right. Let's turn just for a second to this other milestone you hit. You paid cash for a car. What'd you buy?
I bought a 2022 RAV4 hybrid for 40. It came out to 42,000.
And how are you enjoying it?
It's great. I mean, it was good in the at the time, gas prices started coming down and everything, but I still love it. It's we needed to upgrade anyway. We have an 11-month-old daughter now, so I need an SUV anyway. So it worked itself out.
Very cool. So how did it feel to not buy it with a car loan?
It felt good just to have, give them a check and say, here you go. After I was almost done paying my loans off at that point, so I don't want to keep, adding on debt. And, but no, I felt very proud of myself to hand that check over and walk out with the car and not have anything else, no other strings attached to it.
Was the seller surprised, do you think, the fact that you didn't pay for it with credit?
I don't think they cared, to be honest. I think this was in the time where, you don't want it? All right, I got 20 other people lined up behind you. So if you pay for it with cash or with a loan, doesn't really matter to me.
Yep, let's get it off the lot. Very cool. All right. Well, congratulations to you on two very notable milestones, and congratulations to you on your personal and professional and financial success. You are en route to a great future. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for coming on the podcast to share it with others and inspire them to do the same.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all that you do. I've learned a lot from you and your blogs, your podcasts, everything. It's helped me tremendously.
It's our pleasure. All right. Hope that interview was helpful to you. I enjoyed it. I just love his optimism and his success, and it just feels like he's on his way. Not only has he crushed his student loans, but those habits that he developed doing that will lead him to be able to, reach financial independence early. Paying off your student loans is the best kind of training wheels for reaching early financial independence. And he's becoming financially literate, obviously financially disciplined, working hard, and really just going to do great. It's pretty awesome. All right. As I mentioned earlier, let's talk about this book for a second. More Than Enough. This is from Mike Piper. Subtitled A Brief Guide to the Questions That Arise After Realizing You Have More Than You Need. And this is by Mike Piper, CPA. If you don't know Mike, he is the brain behind The Oblivious Investor. It can be found at obliviousinvestor.com. It's a blog. It's been around since, 2007, maybe. Big inspiration to me to start the White Coat Investor in 2011. I've known Mike for a long time. Yes, he's a CPA, but essentially his entire job is writing that blog and writing books. And the only monetization off the blog is the books. And the books sell for like $5. I don't know what this one is. If I look it up on Amazon, let's see what it's going for. This one is $4.99 on Kindle. The paperback's $15, but it's $5. So I'm not making any money if you go out and buy this. I mean, we'll put an affiliate link in the show notes. We don't even have show notes for this because it's Milestones to Millionaire. I'm not going to make a dime from this. I'm just telling you about Mike's great book. Mike is fantastic. He's totally understated. He's way too humble for his knowledge base. He's always a top-rated speaker at WCICon. He speaks regularly at the Bogleheads conference as well. I think he's actually on the Bogleheads board now. This is a short book, like all of Mike's books. In fact, this is kind of long for Mike. This thing's like 129 pages of this, what is this? 7x5 book, 8x5, 9x5, I don't know. Big print. So this is like, I don't know, 2-3 hours of reading is all it is. But if you are in this situation where you are already wealthy, you're still enjoying what you're doing, you're continuing to build wealth, and you're like, holy smokes, I've got an estate tax problem, or there's no way I'm going to spend as much as I have, this is a book for you. And it goes through a lot of interesting stuff. He starts with the non-financial considerations, is what he calls it. The first chapter is, do you have more than enough? I guess there's a little bit of numbers in there. You got to know what you need to know if you have more. And then how to allocate among the recipients. Who's going to get it? What's going to go to charity? What's going to go to heirs, et cetera. And then an entire chapter, and I say an entire chapter, right? These chapters are like 5 pages or something. Talking with your kids or other heirs, why you need to talk to them. And I think that's an important thing to consider right up front when you're talking about this subject. Then part 2 is all about financial considerations, giving and spending during your lifetime, warm hands instead of cold hands, learning to spend and give more, which types of spending are best. And I think that's more about, what brings the most happiness, as well as mental health care. He has a whole chapter on impactful charitable giving, how to select which charities to donate to, whether to make the gifts restricted or not, et cetera. Impactful investing gets a section. He talks about maybe reassessing your asset allocation now that you are, not so much investing for yourself anymore. There's a section on trust. There's a short section on asset protection. Then he gets into part 3. I mean, Mike is a CPA, right? So he's going to have a big section on taxes. And he talks about qualified charitable distributions, which is the best way for someone of RMD age to give to charity. Donating appreciated taxable assets, deduction bunching, donor advised funds, dealing with Rothifying your accounts, talks about state estate taxes, and then gives some good lists to incorporate into your financial plan. And the final section is simply about finding assistance with attorneys, financial planners, and tax preparers. Great book. You ought to check it out. Mike sent me a free copy. There's my disclosure to you. And I hope it sells a bazillion copies of them, because this will help a lot of people. But you ought to check that out. More than enough. If you were in that situation, think you might eventually be in that situation, want to be in that situation, it's $4.99 on Kindle, right? I mean, you're going to spend more of your time value of your time than you are on the book itself. If I was giving Mike business advice, I'd tell him to charge more. But this is the way he does business, and he has, a reasonably good, life, and he's more than content with that, and loves to help people. So there you go. Enjoy More Than Enough from Mike Piper. All right. Don't forget about our sponsor. In fact, I think we plugged our sponsor during this interview because he refinanced with SoFi. And right now, qualifying medical professionals can refinance their private student loans with an up to 1% rate discount. Still a resident with SoFi Student Loan Refinancing, you could pay just $100 a month during your residency. And as a SoFi member, you'll have access to a powerful set of tools, education, even financial planners to help you not only save money, but help you get on the road to financial freedom. Check out their payment plans and interest rates at SoFi.com/whitecodeinvestor. SoFi Student Loans are originated by SoFi Bank, NA, member FDIC. Additional terms and conditions may apply. NMLS 696-891. All right, you can do this. Finances are not that hard. You've already won the game. By virtue of your high income, you've done 90% of what you need to do already to be financially successful. Here at the White Coat Investor, we just help you do the other 10% to get the ball over the rest of the goal line, to borrow a sports analogy. It's not that hard. Many, many white coat investors before you have done this. I don't care how bad your situation is. I don't care if your income and your assets just got cut in half from a divorce. I don't care if you just failed to match the second time. I don't care if you owe $1.3 million in student loans. You can improve your financial life. There is hope. And we can give you the tools. We can build the community around you that can inspire you to do the same. If you would like to come and share your milestone, I don't care what the milestone is, getting back to broke, paying off a $3,000 beater loan, whatever it is, apply whitecoatinvestor.com/milestones. We'll bring you on the podcast. Your situation will inspire somebody else out there trying to do the same. Thank you for your time. Thank you for trusting us. We know you have a choice when it comes to your podcast listening, and we're glad you fly with us. See you next time.
The hosts of the White Coat Investor podcast are not licensed accountants, attorneys, or financial advisors. This podcast is free entertainment and information only. It should not be considered professional or personalized financial advice. You should consult the appropriate professional for specific advice relating to your situation.